Rose has sent us instructions for making creamy macaroni chicken soup, or sopas as it's known in the Philippine provinces. It looks like it's going to be a big, hearty dish, and I think I really need that after that workout I had this morning on my nearly 6-mile walk. So without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty then, the first task as always is to assemble the ingredients. Here we have 500 grams of chicken. That's about a pound or a little bit more boneless, skinless chicken breast. 4 cloves of garlic, which we will mince. 2 white onions, which we will chop. The recipe says 1 large bell pepper. These guys are kind of small, so I'm going to use 2. Besides, I like bell pepper, and I prefer the red ones rather than the green ones. Freshly ground black pepper. A couple of carrots. 350 grams of macaroni noodles. That's around 12 ounces, which there's about that much left in that box. Okay, 2 cups evaporated milk, which I have, but I don't have out here. 1 medium cabbage. There is the cabbage cut half in 2. It was a large head, so half a head should do. 2 tablespoons of margarine. Some fish sauce, also called patas. And the recipe calls for rock salt. I'm going to use just regular ordinary table salt. And last but certainly not least, one of my favorites, a spring onion to chop up for garnish. Alrighty then, the first thing we're going to need to do is boil the chicken in 4 cups of water until it's cooked. Now while the chicken is cooking, we're going to go ahead and mix the garlic and onions and then slice it, and voila, you have chopped up. Okay, next we're going to seed and slice up the bell peppers. Whenever sweet bell peppers are called for, my personal preference is always the red. I just like them better, but green would be fine. Next we're going to need 2 carrots sliced into thin strips. I usually cut the not so nice ends off of them and lightly use a vegetable peeler. Some people may just scrape them with a knife, and some people may not do anything at all, and that's fine too. So once it gets clean, once it's washed good to get all that potential E. coli out of there, you can do anything you want with them. Now I'm going to try to slice these on a bias. It says slice thinly. I'm going to get a little creative and see if I can't make something look interesting here. Alrighty, now we need to have some shredded cabbage. It calls for a medium head. I had a large head and I have half of it left that I used for something else. So I think this should be enough. First of all, the surface there where it had been cut before, it's a little bit brown, a little bit oxidized. There's actually nothing wrong with that. I just cut it off because I don't like the way it looks. And I usually cut out the stem as well. And I believe the recipe says roughly shredded. Last but not least, we need to chop our spring onion. Let's cut the roots off the little guy, and how far up on the green stems you want to go is completely your judgment. Okay, now the chicken is cooked, so we're going to remove the chicken to the old chopping board here because we're going to shred it before we put it back in the recipe. Now this broth we won't save because that's going to be an important part of the soup. So I'll just pour it off into this bowl here. And we'll set it aside as well. Okay, the recipe says we should shred the chicken by hand, which is fine. But it's pretty dang hot, so I might have the help of a knife here. Well, anytime you're going to make a stir fry, a stew, a soup, or anything, usually the order in which you add the ingredients and how long they stay in the pot a certain way is very important. So I like to have everything all ready to come to the party on time, on cue, when I finally start the show. Okay, boys and girls, it's showtime. Here we go. First thing we're going to do is put the aromatics in here, the onion and the garlic. And we're going to saute them just until the onions are translucent. Enter peppers stage right. And just saute that for a little bit. Okay, that's just about there for the peppers. So now we're going to pop in our shredded chicken. Next to arrive at the party is the carrots. Oh, I sliced those up pretty, didn't I? Another guest arriving is the pasta. Recipe says macaroni. You can use pretty much any pasta you want. I like the shells or the rigatoni, like I have here. And I want to mix that around so that the pasta gets a chance to be introduced to the chicken fat. Now we'll add back the chicken broth. And to the chicken broth I want to add some more water. 5 cups of water to be exact. And we don't have to be exact. Okay, now we want to stir that around. And we're going to let that come to a simmer here. While we're waiting on that, we can add some pepper, especially ground pepper. Okay, we are simmering now, and you may notice that during the transition I switched to a little bit bigger pot. Just to make sure that it's time to add the condensed milk, or excuse me, the evaporated milk, there's a difference, that I didn't have in the earlier picture. That's very important. That's the part that makes it creamy. Our last ingredient is the cabbage. Okay. The pot is very full, but the good news is the cabbage will cook down quite significantly, so it's not taking up nearly the bulk. Now, we will cook it until the cabbage is done, and at that point everything should be done, including the pasta. Okay then, we're simmering. The pasta is just about done, and the last guest to arrive at the party is 2 tablespoons of margarine and seasoned with the patas, or fish sauce. So now we have only to get us a big old bowl of it. Garnish it with some of our spring onions. So now it's time to enjoy. So if you don't mind, I'm really hungry, so I'm going to go ahead and eat. Thanks for stopping by, and come back next week for Rose's Cafe. Bye-bye.